Okay. Hello, Miss Nikia. Thank you so much. We were having technical difficulties, so I really want to thank you for being patient with me.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have to start this over, but you know what? We are professionals, so on here. If you all do not know this wonderful woman of God, Mrs. Nikia Hammond-Blakely, and I really want to thank you once again. I honestly can't thank you enough for being a part of this, putting your phone down podcast. And I just want to thank you. Really want to thank you for your patience in hopping on this. I know that you have a busy schedule. So again, thank you.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to put my phone down tonight and chat with you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of it. And again, I really want to take our time to thank you over and over. I can't say thank you enough. But what I really want to do is give you your flowers while you are here. We met in high school, and I've always loved your positive attitude. I knew you as number one, a singer, and number two, that positive attitude. And what I want people to know is you're about to tell them your testimony, but there's a saying, you don't look like what you went through.
Listen, no.
As we were talking, I never would have known. I never would have known this journey, but you managed to turn it into such an awesome testimony that my prayer and hope is that whoever listens to this, even if it's 5 minutes, that they are inspired to get up, get out, and do something.
Yes.
What you are to me and to everyone else who you have come in contact with is a walking testimony and a walking inspiration.
Wow.
If somebody is not near you and not getting inspired, then it's something that they are not doing. So I want to again thank you and give you your flowers. And I want to jump straight into this, So again, people, if you all do not know this wonderful woman, again, like I said, I met her when we were teenagers, not really knowing everything that she was going through because her attitude was so magnetic. She always kept a beautiful smile on her face. So, Nikia, can you please just tell people about yourself and the journey that we are about to talk about?
Absolutely. So we met at William A. Word High School in Gary, Indiana, and I don't even think word is up anymore, is it? But but my journey began when I was just a sophomore in high school. One morning, I was getting ready for school like any other day. I took a shower, and while I was in the shower, I felt a lump in my left breast. And, at first it didn't concern me because I'm thinking, well, I wasn't thinking, I had no frame of reference of what could be. I just knew it was abnormal. And so I told my mom, and she scheduled me for a doctor's appointment, just a routine physical, short time later. And while I was at the doctor, right there on Broadway in Gary, Indiana, Dr. Bernadette was my family doctor. She did the exam and she felt that lump. She said, "Wow, Nikia, do you feel this?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she went on with the exam. She came back to the lump, felt around again. And at first she said, well, I'm sure it's nothing. She said, girls your age are just developing your breasts, especially as Black women. Many times we have lumpy, bumpy, dense breasts. And, she said, I'm sure it's nothing to be concerned about. But by the end of that visit, she suggested that we schedule to have a biopsy just to make sure. And so At that point, I had never been in the hospital for any reason. I didn't know what a biopsy was. But she just kept reassuring me, Nikia, I'm sure it's nothing. We just need to do this as a formality, just to make sure all is well. And not only did that biopsy reveal that there was cancer growing in my left breast, but they said it was a very rare and aggressive form of breast cancer. And I was only 16. No family history at that point. No one in my life, and no one in my church, no one in my family, no one that I knew at that time. And it was in 1994. I didn't know of anybody that had breast cancer, so I couldn't just pick up the phone, call my girlfriends and say, hey girl, how did you deal with your breast cancer? Like I felt like an alien going through a foreign experience. The blessing and curse of that was that I grew up in a very religious family, very faith-based family, EK. And the blessing in that is that when we didn't know what else to do, when we didn't have specialists to call, and I didn't have an oncologist, and I didn't know where to start, we knew we could fall on our knees in prayer. And that be our first go-to was to pray about it. But the curse about that was also because we just gave it all to God, we really didn't speak up and tell anybody. My family handled it fairly privately. And no one really knew what I was going through until after it was over. And so that meant that I went through that very privately and alone. And I didn't realize until years later, Markeisha, how traumatizing it was to go through such a big experience in isolation and to go through that completely. But God being faithful and Him being who He is, He used that moment of misery and really turned it into ministry for me. And from that point on, I started just being a whole lot more driven with my life and just knowing that life is short and precious and that I wanted to live life to the fullest. And so I began going back to school and making straight A's from there, from sophomore high school, from sophomore to my senior year, end up making straight A's. Up to that point, I was pretty much just a C student, and ended up graduating with honors and becoming the first person in my family on either side to go to college and graduate college and go on to get my MBA and enroll in my PhD program. And all of that was because of just that drive I had, that I wanted to live and not die and declare the works of the Lord.
Ooh, girl, this was awesome. I'm sitting here and I'm emotional because, as teenagers, we are very self-absorbed,
Oh, yeah.
and we're into whatever interests us, which is most likely the latest fashion, who not our friends, who we want to be friends with. The bubble that a teenager lives through. And here you are fighting for your life, like you said, privately, coming to school, still with a smile on your face, because like I said, all I knew was you smiling and you singing, and you were very nice to everybody. Those are the three things that if anybody was to ask me, would come up. Oh, she was nice. She was cool. Oh, yeah. Didn't she sing? 16, you were being prepared, to fight for your life.
Oh, yes.
And if we can be biblical, be Jonah.
Child.
And sit in that well and have your moment, like you said, of isolation, not knowing isolation is kind of preparation for
Yes,
what
girl, it was. Yes, it was. So can I go a little further into that?
absolutely.
Because when I tell you, it's not just a phrase or a saying that he will take your misery and make it your ministry. He did that thing for me. From that point, not only did I become more driven just personally to, accomplish what I could accomplish, to see what was inside of me and what I was capable of through Christ, but it gave me a heart and compassion for other young women. Um, at that time, we were definitely the middle, income family. We didn't have the best of insurances. We just my surgery was done by a general surgeon, not even a specialist, a breast surgeon. I was doing treatments there in Methodist Hospital in Gary and didn't even know half the options that were available to me. They wanted to remove both breasts when I was 16, but at that time, I just couldn't fathom that, Markeisha. I just felt like, how am I gonna get through high school without breasts? You know, and so I allowed them to do a partial mastectomy, and that left one breast very, very deformed, and I didn't know about prosthetics, and I didn't know about special bras and even reconstruction surgery to that could have helped me with that. So instead I used to ball up gym socks to try to stuff my bra to go to school and look as normal as possible. But it was at night when I would come home and be in the mirror that I would see the scars and see the disfiguration, and that I felt like a monster and an alien. No one would ever love me. And I used to cry and pray and ask God, who will I ever get married, and who will want something like this? And so I had a unique sensitivity to underserved populations who don't have access to the kind of quality care that other people enjoy every day. So, for example, put a little statistic behind that: African American women, in particular, Black women, are 40% more likely to die from breast cancer. And many times it's not because, we do believe that there's some genetic predisposition to the disease, but a lot of times it's because we don't have the same access to a lot of the quality care that may be afforded to other populations. And so very early on, I began a career in advocacy and trying to be a voice for other young people who would go through breast cancer, particularly young Black women. And girl, maybe I graduated from college, and shortly after college, I met a woman who was starting a breast cancer organization in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria. And she invited me to come over there to minister to the girls over there. And my mom went with me, and we raised money, and we brought bras and prostheses and all the things that I wish that I had when I was going through my life. And we learned of girls and visited hospitals and everything, and learned of girls who were as young as 13 and 14 who had fungated breast cancer, meaning fungus growing on the outside of the breast. That's how bad the breast cancer was. And that showed me, when you talked about the isolation, that was one of the biggest learning lessons, that no matter how bad you think your situation is, there's always somebody somewhere worse off than you.
Baby.
And that's the main lesson I learned while in my isolation, because I felt like I was the worst off. I was the alien. I was the monster. And God only was setting me up. He used my isolation, like you said, for preparation, and was setting me up so that I could have compassion and I could be in the position one day to minister to girls who were even younger with breast cancer, that was even more aggressive.
Wow. Nikia, I'm telling you, this, if nobody listens to this, it's meant for me. Because, and then these are going outside the questions that, I sent you, but it's okay. It's go all tie in. Mm-hmm. The fact that when you are a teenager, you're very impressionable and you're dealing with doctors and parents, and you think that they know it all. Mm-hmm. So at this moment in time, you're giving them permission to speak into your life. Mm-hmm. You giving the doctors permission to say yes or no. This is no. And as you said, they weren't even specialized in that field. But what happened with you is you blocked it, because earlier today I was speaking to a friend and we were talking about, growing up and how different things, started taking place in my life. And I allowed doctors, nurses to tell me, oh, this will never happen. And so what it did is it redirected my life, because I believed it. But it wasn't always a good thing. And with you blocked it. And everything did happen for a reason. Even when you said you looked in the mirror and you didn't like what you saw. If we can take that a step further, it's someone out here, like you said, who did not even live that life. Yeah. But they're looking in that mirror, and it's something about them. They are thinking, who would want me? For whatever reason. And to let you know that you can turn that around.
Yes, absolutely.
And absolutely. That's what you did. I mean, and so I am, if anything, I'm humbled to have this talk with you, because you definitely made that walk at 16, fighting for your life, look like it was running after the ice cream truck. That's how easy you made it look,
Well, to that point, let me tell you, it wasn't even at that point a conscious intention to try to fake it. It really wasn't. I can honestly say that God just gave me the grace. He gave me grace for that assignment. And some of it is also, like I said, I was traumatized. And what I've learned since I've gotten older, that many of us go through situations and we just, we get through it out of a survivor's instinct. We just plummet through it, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, a divorce, a heartbreak. We get through it in the name of survival, just whatever it takes every day to get up. And sometimes you don't process that thing until years later. It hits you like, OMG, what was that? And you go through all the grief and all the pain and all the why, and where was this person, and how come this didn't happen, and what. You don't process that until years later a lot of times, because you are just traumatized. And I feel like that was part of my story.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Life is a circle, so if it's not hitting you now, it's gonna come back. If it's not healed,
Oh, absolutely.
It's gonna come back so you can get healed. It doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter how you think you've gotten over it. It's gonna come back, and just for you to heal it up, And I'm grateful that you said that, because it's true. Like, a lot of people think that they're over something. Sometimes even, well, most of the time, sickness. When they say, "Oh, I'm over that," no, you're not. And so I thank you for that. I want to actually go into the other side, the flip side, because you mentioned the straight A's and then going off to college and traveling the world.
Yes.
And I want to know, like, I mean, I'm hearing about the books you have out, and I'm hearing that October 12th is a Nikia Hammonds-Blakely Day. I mean, this is a word trooper that has her own day. Look, I'm name dropping now from that. I really want to give you an opportunity to talk about how all of this tied together. But before I get there, what I want to know, and I know you mentioned that this was just the grace of God that kept you, but how at 16 and then 17, and then, you know, of course, just throughout the teenage years, what kept your attitude so upbeat? I don't ever remember you snapping on anybody or fighting anybody or lashing out at the teachers, you know, just things that people would do if they're going through something. So what exactly kept your attitude so positive?
I promise you, I wish I could take credit for that, but when I say to God be the glory, some of it is just it was the grace of God. It was the grace of God on my life, almost keeping me in a bubble in one sense, because he was protecting me from things that were to come and things I couldn't change. And I believe he kept me pretty bubbled in, or he just had me in his arms of safety during that time. I can't take credit for that, you know, in that regard. But I will say that I've never been the kind, even to this day, I go through a lot of stuff. I've been through persecution, heartache, heartbreak, betrayal, you name it. But I've never been the kind that tried to make people pay for whatever I'm going through on the inside, because you said it best, Markeisha, and that is that life is cyclical. Honey, what you put out there will come back to you. It's coming back somehow, some way, in some form. And the more nasty you put out, you will get it back, even if it's in your children. One day when you have children and they get your age, you will revisit everything that you put out in this world. And so I've just never been the kind that found any pleasure in being dramatic or you know, a troublemaker. Not in high school, not in college, not in life. I stay my own lane and try to let God do what he needs to do in me.
And that's why they say a reputation at the end of the life, you know, when it's our time to go, a reputation is better than all of that stuff. The material, you know, we can talk about how fly you dressed, but that's only gonna be for a minute. Everybody go remember if you were mean. Everybody go remember, you know, those things that set reputation. And I'm gonna always remember that about you. So understand this, you blessed and highly favored for a reason. I mean, because I have always known that part about you. So while we got this time, I really want to get into how you got your own day, because I want somebody to make a day. I stole Martin Luther King's initials and made it my own, but you have your own day. So can we talk about that?
Absolutely. You know, I make my boast in the Lord. When I tell you that, so that happened last year of October of 2019. My family did a big celebration for me as it marked my 25th anniversary as a cancer survivor, cancerversary. And different people from throughout my life and journey were there. Just acknowledge some of the work that I had done in this space over the years. And a few of those opportunities, you know, that God allowed to happen as a result of that one moment of misery, he into so many avenues of ministry, I became national board member of for Susan G. Komen. It's the world's largest breast cancer organization. And I was chosen as one of 11 young women across the country to represent the organization and talk the language of young people and educate them about breast cancer. And I served in that capacity for almost a decade. I've also done lots of advocacy work with other breast cancer organizations. Like right now, I do a lot of work with the Congressional Department of Medical Research Programs. Basically, the U.S. Department of Defense allows me to review breast cancer research grants and advise what will have impact, especially for African American young populations. And I've served in capacities like that and just have been able to do a lot of charitable work. About 6 years ago, the Lord blessed me to start a nonprofit, a 501c3 called the Champion Promise Foundation. And our whole mission is to serve underserved young women and girls and start getting into middle schools, high schools, college campuses, educating minority women about their risks to breast cancer. And so it was like a culmination of all of that work. And I don't even think I mentioned, Markeisha, that diagnosis at age 16 was only my first diagnosis. I was actually diagnosed again 18 years later, 18 years after having successful mammograms and thinking that chapter was behind me and doing all this advocacy work and ministering in churches and everywhere else, telling everybody how the Lord healed my body. I went and they saw an abnormality. And girl, do you not know, the doctor, I was living here in Texas, said, well, I'm sure it's nothing. We'll keep an eye on it. Oh, yes, he did. And by this time, I knew I had done research. I had worked with 2 patients, and I knew better. And I insisted that they take every test that was possible to ensure my health. And sure enough, as they pursued, tested further, it turned out to be breast cancer. And so last year on October 12th, the city of Frisco, Texas, declared that October 12th would be Nikia Hammonds-Blakely for the 25 years of breast advocacy that has taken place. So to God be the glory.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm totally moved by this. Because you just don't know what a person is going through. You don't know what they're battling. And I'm listening to you, and I am speechless. I'm never speechless. I always have something to say. It's my time to just listen and take this all in, because of course I'm getting something out of this too.
Yeah.
I want you to go more. I know we spoke about the Breast Cancer Foundation. I want you to, because I think we're winding down. I'm hearing that you have books coming out, some upcoming projects. I want to give you the floor again to talk about that. But the number one thing I want to ask, and I know you're going to wrap this up in a pretty bow and tie, to get our young ladies, because I know now what the age that they are testing you is, it's what, 40? Is that the age now you have to be?
That's the age where the national recommendation is to begin doing your mammogram. It's age 40. However, if you have a family history and or if you have suspicious activity in the breast, any abnormalities, you can go to your local and request testing. And many times, as in my case, they will make special exception if you're high risk and have significant concern or risk factors.
Okay, so if you're 12 and let's say you just started your period, but you notice a knot, You go in there and you can definitely start requesting, look, something's wrong with my child. Do all the tests, and they won't say no, she's too young, or is it some kind of paperwork that they have to go through?
You know, as you know, with healthcare, period, there are barriers that a lot of times we face and we have to fight because they see a million patients a day, and you know, we're just a lot of times a number and a statistic. And so it is for you to insist when you know your body and you know something is wrong, or in your child you see something suspicious. A lot of times you will have to go that extra mile and be that advocate and just insist on further tests. But doctors are like anything else. If you're not getting the service that you need from your primary doctor, go get a second opinion. You pursue another doctor. But by all means, doctors have taken an oath to look into your total health and well-being. And if you are insisting on certain tests, you know, they are obligated to at least do preliminary diagnostic tests.
Okay. So I want to also ask, while, you know, I have you on here, I know some people, you know, are listening and, you know, they are definitely relating to this. Is it a way that, you know, are you going around? Well, I know the world is shut down right now, but do you go to different places and speak and educate? You know, were you, you know, going to schools? Where can people find you if they just need to ask some type of question, but they don't want to be out in the open with it?
Well, thank you, because that is the perfect way to wrap it all up in a bow. I want you and everyone listening to please visit me at NikiaHammonds-Blakely.com. Nikia is Nikia, and Hammonds-Blakely is HAMMONDS-BLAKELY. And on my site, that's where we can really connect. And there are several resources available to you. If you just need some inspiration or music, I've written many songs and recorded, and they are available for free download on the site. If you just go to NikiaHammonds-Blakely.com, there's certainly more about my story, different interviews, different performances you can find on the site. The Breast Cancer Foundation, if you're interested in supporting the Champion Promise Foundation, an organization that will get resources to local communities and get it into the hands of people who need it most. It's NikiaHammonds-Blakely.com/Champion Promise. You can find out all about the Breast Cancer Foundation on the site. And my most recent venture is starting a publishing company. And so just about 5 months ago, I birthed iChampion Publishing. And our whole slogan is, we exist to amplify the voices of everyday heroes who accomplish extraordinary feats through their faith in God, servanthood, and heroism. We believe that champions are born out of adversity, and everybody has a story. So our whole desire is to get your story in the hands of the world so that the world can hear your story. So if you've been through something, your story might not be breast cancer. It might be just having your heart healed, or it might be whatever your story is, network is that you want to share with the world. I would love for you to connect with us on the website, NikiaHammonds-Blakely.com/Champion Publishing. And let's schedule a free consultation where we can talk about how we can help bring your story to light. So all of those things are on the website. And if you just have some questions or need to chat, please go to the website. You can fill out a contact form. I answer everything personally, and would just love to connect. Oh, and back to the Champion Promise section of the site, the breast cancer resource. There is a section on there where you can take a survey to assess your own breast cancer risk. It only takes 5 minutes. You click on that site, and it will give you an in-depth profile of how likely it might be to experience breast cancer in your lifetime. There are also other resources and links on there that if you need financial assistance, if you need rides, if you need just the basic things that a woman may go through when she's going through breast cancer, you'll find a lot of great links and resources on the Champion Promise site. So we hope that you'll visit us there.
And I just love you. I love you, seriously. I'm sitting up here like, you, man. This was awesome. And I'm just thankful again that you sat here and you educated us on so many things. It was beyond the cancer, it touched so many different levels that somebody who may not even have been touched by anybody personally with cancer is go get something out of this, because somebody knows somebody, a child, somebody who might need to play this and say, hey, listen, you're going to come out of it. And so,
absolutely.
In closing, I just want to thank you. You have a lot going on, and I'm going to put your information in the description box to let everybody visit this site. We do know last month was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but this doesn't stop,
Oh, no, honey. This is all year round. Women are diagnosed every, I believe the statistic is 1 in every 8 women will be diagnosed, and women are diagnosed every few minutes in this country. So we have a year-round responsibility. And so please, we would love your support, and just go to the site to learn more. And lastly, if I can, Marquis, I just want to also thank you, because I have memories of you as well in high school, and never known anything of you but to be a sweet, smiling young lady. And here you are, some 20 years later, still being positive, and look at what you're doing, sharing your gifts with the world, and putting that positivity out there. And so I'm glad to be connected with you, and I'm godly proud of everything that you're doing in your life. And when I heard about it through one of my best friends, one of the best friends in the whole world, maybe, I was just excited to connect with you, and any friend of hers is a friend of mine. And so I thank you again for your life and your light and this opportunity.
I'm really emotional, because that just really almost, girl, you're not gonna make me cry on this podcast, honey. I mean, this is what sisterhood is about. You don't have to talk every day, but the sisterhood, and reaching back.
Girl, let me tell you that it's so true. Me and Mamie, we could pick up after 15 years, and it'll be like we are little girls all over again, can just catch up from moment one. So that's what real sister is, and glad that you're a sister.
Shout out to Mamie, because seriously, she's the link. She might not want to hear that, but she is definitely. We are almost at 40 minutes, and I just want to take time again. I really want to thank you. And I know that I've said that probably 1,000 times, and I will say it 1,000 more. Everybody doesn't like to share their stories. We live in a world where social media only shares and shows accomplishments. They don't know that, the crying phase, the dark phase, the losing friends phase, the questioning yourself phase, but they cannot wait to take a picture and show, look at where I am now. And so to share your story means that you have been exposed, you're naked, and that's the way we're supposed to be, because naked means that you're relatable. And anybody who still walks around with that mask on, we can't relate. So I thank you for being naked, exposing yourself, because that can make somebody else say, you know what? I went through it too. I didn't tell everybody, or, I just kept it going. But no, that's going to make somebody tell their story. So I thank you for that. Like I said, we're at 40 minutes and it usually, shuts off, and I don't want that to happen. So I really want to thank you for being a part of this podcast. I want to thank the listeners, and please check out her website. The description will be below. And thank you for putting down your phones, listeners. This is an awesome interview, and you're going to learn more about this young lady of God. I told you that at the beginning, and I mean it. So we go hear more about you. She has books out. The website will be in the description. Again, I want to thank you for everything. Continue to be a blessing wherever you go.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
so
welcome.
much.
And listeners, if you are interested, if you want to be a part of joining on this podcast, please, please, please visit the Facebook page that I have. Tell me your story, and we're going to go ahead and book you so you can share your story like Nikia, because it's so much more right here. So thank everyone for putting your phone down. Thank you, Nikia, for putting your phone down. And until then, people, please be encouraged.
Yes.